Hey everybody, welcome to that Vinyl channel. I'm that Vinyl Guy Boz. Today is April 14th, 2020. Yesterday, April 13th, 2020, Dennis DeYoung put out a list of his favorite Styx albums from worst to best on a website, and I'll go ahead and put up the URL so you have it. But being the huge Styx fan that I am, I'm also a huge fan of Dennis DeYoung as well. But being the huge Styx fan that I am, I decided I'd go ahead and put out my list of my favorite, actually from worst to best, Styx albums in my opinion. So stick around and don't touch that dial. And welcome back. So this is going to be a countdown of my favorite Styx albums from worst to the best. This is going to be studio albums. It is not going to include live albums, compilations, or bootlegs. But I will go ahead and include all their studio albums. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start with my least favorite Styx album, and I'm going to go ahead and explain to you why. Unfortunately, I do not have this album. Well, I do have it, but right now I can't find it. It's somewhere in the house. It's lost. I do have a single that I actually had specially made off the album. You can get a good look at that. This is from Brave New World. This is a 7-inch flexi disc. It has number 1, which is a track off that album. But Brave New World is my least favorite Styx album. I'll tell you why. When I heard Styx was coming out with this album, I was very excited, and I couldn't wait to get it. I received it and I played it. It was on CD, of course. But I went ahead and I played it, and it has some good songs on it. The songs individually are actually really good. Most of them are, but the album is not coherent. It sounds like it's two different albums put together on one album. It sounds like it's a Tommy Shaw solo album, or even like a Shaw Blades. Now I know Jack Blades is not part of this, but some of the songs do have a Shaw Blades feel. So it sounds like it's a Tommy Shaw solo or a Shaw Blades album, and part of the album, and a Dennis DeYoung solo album on the other half of the album, and it doesn't flow. So, I was very disappointed in hearing this album from beginning to end, because I was like, I had to switch gears. It's like, okay, this is a Dennis DeYoung song, this is a Tommy Shaw song. I wanted to hear a Styx album. I wanted to hear the way that I grew up with Styx, hearing, being cohesive and one album and everybody working together. It sounds like everybody went in the private corners and just recorded what they wanted and came back out with their songs, and there was no collaboration. There was no, it just sounds like it just, I don't know, it just, the album was again, individual songs are great, but as a whole it just didn't feel like a Styx album. It felt like two solo albums smashed together, and that's not what I was looking for. So that's why this album, Brave New World, and this is what the cover looks like, is my number 1 worst Styx album. Now moving on to the next one here, and it is their debut album. Now, in my opinion, there is no bad Styx albums, but this one just, they're getting their foothold, and it's got some good songs on this. And it does have some songs that do sound like Styx, but there's a lot of songs in here, and it just doesn't quite sound like Styx. So that's why this is my second to the last worst Styx album. It's probably also my least played Styx album. So yeah, so that's my next one. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next one on the list. This is Styx 2. Not a bad album. Has Lady on it, which of course propelled them into stardom. But Earl of Roseland, so much. It has a good I'm Gonna Make You Feel It, which is a great I believe it's JY, a great JY song. But it's just it's just not up to the par that I think that Styx could be. So this is the next album on my list. So I don't have this on vinyl. It was never released on vinyl. I'm going to try to put it up there so you can take a look at it. This is Cyclorama. Now, I did see them in concert for this album. Now, this is actually a UK promo cover. It is a alternate cover. If you can take a look at it, it's not the same as the commercial cover, but it is the only copy that I have. I mean, the songs on it are good. You know, some of them are really good, some of them are just okay. But I don't know. It's just some of the songs kind of feel like a different band. You know, it's hard to even put a finger on exactly who, you know, what band it is. But I mean, I know it's Styx, but it just feels like some of these songs are just not quite, what I expected from a Styx album. So it's a good attempt I know at this point, Tommy Shaw took lead of the band. And I have no problems with that. You know, bands are put together for, it's monetary, it's a business, right? And sometimes business people just can't work things out. So, I'm a huge fan of Dennis DeYoung solo. I'm a huge fan of Tommy Shaw solo, but this is the first debut album without Dennis DeYoung. It was a good first attempt, but it just didn't quite get there. So that's the next album on my list. All right, so next we have Made of Miracles. It's kind of the same thing with Styx 2. It has some great songs on it. Some of these albums have Lies as the first song. On the second side, some have The Best Thing, or The Grove of Everything, not Grove, Unfinished Song. Has Unfinished Song, so it depends on which copy you have as to, which song is the first song on the second side. But this is one of the first pressings that does have Lies as the first song on the second side. I think Unfinished Song is actually the best song of those three, by the way. But, I mean, it's pretty good. Southern Woman's really good. Made of Miracles is good. There's nothing wrong with the songs on it. Some of these I enjoy, but it's just, I don't enjoy this as much as other Styx albums. So that's why this one is the next one on my list. Crystal Ball is pretty good. It's the first album that was released with Tommy Shaw. The title track, Crystal Ball, is great. I really like this album. It just didn't quite get to the par, I think, of other A&M releases. So that's why this one is next on my list. But, there's nothing wrong with this album. It's a great album. Okay, so this one here is Agata Century. Now, I had a hard time finding this on vinyl. I remember back in, when did this come out? 1990, right? So I remember when this came out, I was living in Fall River, Massachusetts, and I went to all the local record stores that I could find, and there were several of them, and I just could not find this on vinyl. I asked around, and pretty much what I was told was this was not released on vinyl. Now, I had a record player and I had a cassette deck. I did not have a CD player at the time, so I was kind of disappointed that I could not get this on vinyl. I looked around, I tried. I ended up getting it on cassette originally. So it wasn't until a decade or so later that I finally found a vinyl copy. So it was made on vinyl. But it's a really good Styx album. This doesn't have Tommy Shaw in the band. At the time, Tommy Shaw was in Damn Yankees. So it does have Glenn Burnick, right? Glenn Burnick took the place of Tommy Shaw. So, but I mean, Love is a Ritual is I love that song. It's a great song. Edge of the Century is awesome. Love at First Sight is a great ballad. All of that day's work is about my worst song off this album. I'm gonna flip it over here so I can talk. Not Dead Yet is probably my favorite track off this. I mean, I can put on Not Dead Yet and I can crank up a stereo and I can just jam out on that song. And I remember seeing Styx do that song on a Arsenio Hall back in the day in 1990. So it's a great song. Carrie Ann is really good. I believe that was his daughter, I believe. World Tonight was pretty good. So Back to Chicago I really like. I kind of like any of the songs that Dennis DeYoung does or Styx does, talking about the route and Southbound Ryan and stuff like that. So I like those kind of songs. But overall, this is a really good Styx album. I really like it a lot. I do play it often. I'll pull it out about once every 3 or 4 months or so, and I will put it on the record player, and I'll go ahead and jam this and I'll play it. So it's a good solid Styx record. All right, so now we're getting into more of their bigger hit records. Pieces of Eight. I mean, this is just a great record. This is more than getting towards their, what they got to in the 80s. I think this was released in 78. So, but this was more of a concept album, in my opinion, because everything on here has to do with, a little bit with, money. And there's a song about, what is it? Queen of Spades, which I really love, Pieces of Eight, Renegade, Blue Collar Man. So all these songs, related to the same central core theme. So it's getting more towards, a concept album, which in the '80s they definitely, went even more towards. So, Renegade is an amazing song. So, all these songs are great. So, this is the next record on my list. Alright, so now we're getting into this Equinox. This is Styx's first A&M record that they cut. I really like this album a lot. If you sit down and you listen to their was it four Wood and Nickel albums, and then you move into this album, you can kind of hear a lot of the Wood and Nickel still in their DNA, still in this record. Mother Dear, Lonely Child. I think those two songs could easily have been on one of the Wood and Nickel releases. Of course, Light Up and Lorelei is more sounding like what they sound like in their later albums. So, and then we have, Midnight Ride is amazing. I love that song. It's hardcore. It has cowbell in it. I think that's the only Styx song that's cowbell in it. If somebody knows of another Styx song that's cowbell in it, please let me know. But I think that's the only Styx song I'm aware of that's cowbell. And Born for Adventures, of course, Sweet Mind and Blue, amazing. This is in my opinion, really shows not only where they came from the Wood and Nickel side, but where they were going. And if you hear this record, you can hear both the Wood and Nickel influence and how this album influenced them in the future. So that's why this one here is a really great album. And so that's my next one on the list. Have a stand here holding these records. I hope it doesn't turn over, but it should be okay. So anyways, we're going on to The Mission. Yes, I really enjoyed this album. So this is, again, Tommy Shaw at the lead. I think, this is the band maturing under Tommy Shaw. All the band, the band is coming together and being more cohesive. It's a concept album, which I think Styx, no matter who's at the helm, Styx shines with concept albums. Gone, Gone, Gone. Locomotive. Key Drive is awesome. I'm not gonna mention every single song. It has, I'm pretty sure y'all are familiar with this album, but Radio Silence. Wow, right? This is just a really good Styx album, and it sounds like a Styx album. It sounds like if this had been released right after Kilroy, nobody would have even said anything, that it wasn't Styx. It didn't sound like Styx. This sounds like a Styx album, and this is really what I was wanting when they put out Brave New World, was something like this. So this is a really good album, and it's way up there on my list. So that's the next one. All right, so next one is Cornerstone. I really enjoy this album a whole lot. This is actually signed by the band, as you can see. So this one has Lady on it, which is their only #1 hit. Love in the Midnight's awesome. Borrowed Time and Why Me. Both of those are like huge songs that I really enjoy. So, Lights is amazing. So, this is a really amazing Styx album, and it's really up there on my list. So that's the next one. We're getting close to the end here, but let's keep moving. All right, so I know you're surprised to see a Wood and Nickel album getting more closer to my #1. Let me tell you what, I really like this album. I know Dennis DeYoung does not care for this album as much as I do. I think this is like his third worst album. Is that it? So, and that in itself helped move this album up a little bit because, you know, my contrast to that is like, this is a really, really good album. You know, one of his reasons for not liking it, he was talking about how it's produced. So we all have reasons why we like an album or don't like an album, you know, so, but it's the music on this album I really like. I mean, you know, Witch Wolf is a great song. The Grove of Eglantine, I think The Grove of Eglantine can be on an A&M record. I think that it's that good. And you know, it really shows, you know, the path, the evolution of Styx, you know, of all these sounds that they're experimenting with, and you know, how they ended up where they ended up at. And Jonas Salter, you know, the article that Dennis DeYoung did, he made a joke, right? I just do a pirate, right? I mean, I really like Jonas Salter. That's a really good song. I think Jonas Salter can fit right into Pieces of Eight and have no problem whatsoever just being on that album. So, you know, a lot of these songs, in my opinion, you know, really show, you know, the evolution of Styx, you know, them experimenting and where they're going. And of course, it has Plexiglass Toilet on it. I mean, that's that right there. You know, I'm a huge novelty collector, and that's a novelty song. Dr. Demento has even played it on his show before. So, but yeah, I mean, this is a really good album, and I probably play this album probably more than a lot of other Styx albums. Not more than the ones coming up that I'm about to show you, but more than the albums that I've already showed you. So I really, really enjoy this album a lot. This is Paradise Theater. By the way, this is an East German pressing. It is on the Amiga label. It came out in 1982. It is not a gatefold. It has no laser etching, and it also has a bunch of this German writing on the back cover. So I'm not really sure what it says. I'm sure it's a story of Paradise Theater you see in a typical gatefold. I just figured I'd throw that in for you. I really, you know, it's very, very cool that I got this copy. But anyways, I mean, this is you know, as a concept album, you know, all the songs, Snowblind, Halfpenny, Twopenny, Too Much Time on My Hands. That's a really big Styx hit. So yeah, I mean, this is a really good Styx album, and I like it a lot. I played it a lot. So that's the next one on my list. Okay, now we're down to the next to the last. Thank you for sticking around, and I do have the original master recording of this. It is a MoFi, right? Yeah, it's a MoFi, a mobile fidelity sound lab pressing. But I mean, this is way up on my list. You know, The Grand Illusion, Fooling Yourself, Superstars Come Sail Away. You know, it just. I remember being in a car. You know, I'm not sure how my age. I might have been 12 or so, or 13. And you know, my parents had the radio on, and this song "Come Sail Away" came on the radio, and I was really in awe of this song, and it stuck with me. And I heard it more other times too. And I really wanted to figure out, you know, who this band was that did this song "Come Sail Away." You know, I'm a big sci-fi person, so they got on a starship and they flew away and had all this amazing sound effects. You know, and it really made you feel like you were there and you were watching the ship fly away. So that song is just amazing. So. Yeah, so this is my second to the favorite. I think this is Dennis's favorite album, and I can understand why. It is an amazing album. Yeah, it's my second. It's second to the last album. Okay, so there's only one album left I haven't covered. I have a shirt here that kind of depicts the album a little bit. So let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? So my favorite album is Kill Where We're Here. Now, I know some of you are throwing popcorn at the screen, and that's all right. A lot of you blame this album for the breakup of the band. I think there was more going on than just an album that caused the breakup of the band, personally. But there are a lot of reasons why this is my favorite album. I mean, it is a great album as far as music goes and lyrically. You know, Mr. Roboto, Cold War, you know, Heavy Metal Poisoning. That's a great Jay White song, right? So this is a great song. It has a great album. Has a lot of great songs on it. But I was in my senior year in high school when this album came out. Okay, so this album had a lot of influence on me. Okay, one of the very few albums that I actually went down to a store back then. It was Service Merchandise, and I bought this album new. Most of the albums to that point that I bought it from a used record store. Somebody had already opened them and played them, and that's fine. But you know, all these other records that I got, and at that point I did have several Styx albums, but all those I had bought used. This is the first album I bought new, so I took it home and tore the cellophane off of it, and I played it, and it was a great album. So, but really, it's the first concert that I went to. Okay, so I went to this concert in Lakeland, Florida in 1983, I still have the ticket from it. I should have took it out and showed it to you, but that's okay. But you know what? Back then it was there was no seating. I think there was seating up in the bleachers behind us, but down on the floor there was no seating, so it was all standing room only. And I inched myself through the crowd, and I got up right to the stage. I mean, I was right there. The speakers were just right there in front of me, you know, right down on top of me. I could have reached out and probably touched one, you know, Tommy Shaw or JY, you know. So, but you know, and my ears to this day are still ringing because of that concert. Okay, and that's fine. You know, I will do it all again. Trust me. But it was an amazing concert, the first rock concert. You know, and that's one of the reasons why this album is a favorite album, because it has so much memories of everything around this album. I even still have, and I'll show you here, the booklet that they had available for sale during the concert, which is you know, all the great little stuff on the inside, and show you that one too. So yeah, there you go. So that's my favorite Styx album, is Kill Where Was Here. So I know this video is a bit longer than normal, but I really appreciate you sticking around. Maybe your list is not the same as my list. If you want to share your favorite album, please go ahead and list it below. I want to thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and click on the little bell, and I will see you all next time.